test. And so is there any opportunity to reevaluate whether Prop 2.5 is a workable solution anymore and stop people from going through all these hoops to try to balance their budgets, their operating budgets or their massive debt when they do a big project? It should almost be Proposition COLA instead of 2.5.
Cost of living adjustment rather than, I have long felt that it hurts our chances for funding when other communities can say, we've overridden Proposition 2.5. Topsfield just did it. They do it frequently, many other communities. And I agree with you. I don't think it's a badge of honor to say we've never overridden Proposition 2.5. We've never seen fit. Now, we do have commercial real estate that our neighbors in these smaller towns just salivate. If you're Wenham, Wenham they have nowhere to go.
But even Burlington, who has a better commercial mix, still has done overrides.
Sure. And so, at some point you say, well, if we have to, we will. If we really cannot meet the needs of our citizens, our schools, we would have to consider it. Will there be, I don't sense a huge groundswell of support to mess around with Prop 2.5, but as other communities run out of runway, I think maybe you're going to see people kind of wonder, like, okay, well, can we tweak it? I will say, we tweaked in the House economic development or budget, no, tax package, in the tax package that we did in the House. We made a small change in Chapter 62F. And I had an email or two saying, oh, no, you can't touch that. We revisit legislation all the time. It's not sacrosanct once you pass something. But it happens that 2.5 gets a lot of support by people who, I get it. They don't want to pay property taxes, but it does have its, it poses a lot of difficulties. So I hear you, and I will keep my eyes open for a change Prop 2.5 caucus. They have caucuses for everything: housing, zero waste. Today I went to a great meeting of the Clean Energy Caucus. Yeah, but, crystal ball, don't know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Maureen, any questions for the rep?
I think you do a good job, Sally. It's a shame, like Dan said, with how the rents can just go up with those people. People, there's a lot of programs out there for people that are listening that you can own versus rent. People don't realize that, so check with your banks and your credit unions for little down payments, and there's a lot of grant money out there, so that could be a solution with some of these people, that home ownership is bright still, even despite the interest rates going up.
It's great to hear you say that. And at one of the Housing Caucus meetings, I actually asked, like, what is helpful? What is useful here? And a guy from Pittsfield said, first-time home buyer assistance. That is how you can help people. And so I know that we have the Affordable Housing Trust. I think we on the state level, we do have a rental assistance. And if you feel like you are on the edge and you don't know if you're going to make rent and make a tuition payment, please reach out to tell people to call your state rep, call Senator Lovely, because there are resources, and sometimes people don't know about them, but the housing crisis it's wild. It's all around us. And yeah, so it's good to know, okay, that perhaps someone who's thinking, oh, I'll never be able to own, maybe they can cobble together.
Yeah, or at least come up with a plan. Talk to your, representatives, talk to your banks, your loan offices to guide them, on how to get there.
Lynn did a first-time, or rather a foreclosure protection pilot program that was hugely successful. So it can be done.
I just want to make people aware of that there are programs out there to help. And you're right, call your state rep.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I was happy to hear that there's some momentum for the first-time home buyer savings program. Seems like that's taking off. The real estate people have been pushing for that for 5 years. And from Day on the Hill, I understand that there is some momentum on that very subject. So thank you for any support you
Had
gave
a nice
to them.
visit from 2 realtors, Linda Turcott and Talisa from Topsfield. And that was one of the things that we talked about. And yeah, everyone is aware of it. I mean, there's one thing we're all agreeing on. No one is disagreeing that we are in a housing crisis, creating more housing that people can afford. So let's use that common urgency and get things done.
All right, thank you very much for coming and
Sure.
addressing the board. Appreciate it. And
Always a pleasure.
all right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Your fan club. Number 5, a public hearing will be held on the Danvers Electric Division conduit petition number 20230-424-1 dated April 24, 2023, requesting permission to lay and maintain underground conduits and manholes with wires and cables to be placed therein under the surface of the following public ways: Charter, Hobart, Locust, and Maple Street, placing approximately 750 feet of underground conduit. Somebody here to speak to that?
Good evening. My name's Jay Gomes. I'm a systems engineer from the Electric Division,
Welcome, Jay.
1 Borough Street. Requesting permission to install and maintain 750 feet of underground electric utilities, and this would be on Charter, Hobart, Locust, and Maple Street, to provide primary service to 120 Maple Street, the Maple Square project.
So underground, so Mr. Bradstreet, they're gonna be digging up these streets to put in underground conduit.
So the developer will be digging up the streets to put an underground conduit, and then they will restore the site to better condition as it was previously. And the developer will also be paying for the excavation, trenching, all primary wire and equipment associated with the project.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Gardner?
No, this doesn't replace any existing poles, does it?
No. We have electric circuit over on Charter Street that will be 1 feed, and then we have an electric circuit on Locust Street that will be the 2nd feed for this property. Typically, any underground utility, you want to have 2 sources of power. In the event you lose one, you have a loop feed, which is more reliable.
But they aren't on the same circuit, are they?
They'll be on separate circuits.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
there's,
there's a redundancy is only good if they're on different
exactly. If
circuits.
you lose one circuit, there's no,
Okay,
no,
no, I have no other questions.
okay.
Thank you. Maureen,
No questions, thank you.
when will this start and how long will it take, you think?
Trying to coordinate with the developer once we get authorization and approval. Again, we'll look to coordinate when they're doing other utility work on the street to kind of minimize the impact to the town. I would probably say late July,
Late July?
early August.
Okay.
If, schedule meets up.
All right, this is a public hearing. Anyone in the public with questions?
Move to close the public hearing?
Wait, hold on, I'm sorry. Late hand.
Oh, sorry.
Bill Bradstreet, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. I like July start. When's it gonna end?
I can't answer that question, because again, we're gonna be lining up with other utilities, heating, working in streets and water, so we have other timelines for other utilities. So we can get 750 feet done on the electric side, but I don't know, I can't speak for other utilities.
Perhaps before Christmas?
It'd be nice.
Okay.
before the snow flies, yeah. All right, motion on the public hearing.
Yeah, so, I move we close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. What's the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the Electric Division conduit petition number 2023-0424-1 as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I will second it.
Thank you. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Obviously none. Thanks. Next is a public hearing will be held on Danvers Electric Division and Verizon joint poll petition number 20230-424-2 dated April 24, 2023, requesting permission to locate poles, wires, cable, fixtures, including anchors, guys, and other such as necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures. Also permission to lay and maintain underground laterals, cables, and wires, or intersecting public way for purpose of making connections with poles and buildings along and across the following public ways. North Putnam Street for the relocation of 3 Danvers Electric Verizon joint-owned utility poles, P100-11, P100-10, and P100-9. Jay, are you speaking to this?
Yes, that's
Thank
correct.
you.
Jay Gomes, again, the Electric Division, here to discuss the North Maple Street pole relocation, requesting permission to relocate 3 utility poles on North Maple to the new parking lot across the street from the 120 Maple Street, Maple Square project.
Maureen, any questions?
And that's going to be done by our Danvers Electric crew?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a joint-owned pole, but it's our set area.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Gardner?
So are any of these new poles, or I'm trying to understand?
So they'll
the
be
intent?
relocated. The property of 120 Maple Street will be building out to the sidewalk,
Okay,
and that facility will have Juliet balconies, and those balconies will be within a clearance violation of the existing pole line, that if your back is to Maple Street is on the left side of the street. We'd like to relocate those 2 utility poles to the right, and then 1 to the new parking lot away from the building.
so is the new building paying for this effort? I mean,
Yes.
oh, okay,
Yep,
all right, fine.
yep. Yeah, they'll be paying for the pole relocation,
Okay,
utility
so it
poles.
benefits that building, it benefits their sight lines and their
Correct, and
proximity.
it will also benefit
paying
the
for it.
town relative to kind of rebuilding that area with new overhead primary on Maple Street
Mhm.
and North Putnam.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, you're welcome. Maureen, were you all set?
I'm all set.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Public hearing, any questions from the public?
Mr. Chairman, I move we close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
You need a motion on that.
Well, I'm sorry, yeah, motion on the petition. You don't have to read the whole thing, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the petition -2 as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. So at this time, to move things along, I'm going to go back to item number 4. This is the proposal to amend the parking rules and regulations. We've all asked our questions, but to make it official, I'd like a motion and a vote.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to amend the parking rules. Let's see, the board proposal to amend the parking rules and regulations
As presented.
as presented.
Is there
Second the motion?
any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, it's done.
It's easy. That's it?
That's it? Yep, but no, we just made it official.
And
Yeah, I didn't want to keep you waiting any longer.
Uh-huh.
No, you're welcome. Number 7, the board will consider the application of Agility and Scotia for a one-day wine and malt beverage license at Endicott Park, 57 Forest Street, August 2023, from 12:30 PM to 5:30 PM for a birthday celebration. Somebody here to speak to this. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jill Scioli. I've rented some space at Endicott Park for a birthday party, and we're seeking a one-day liquor license to have beer and wine served. We hired a mobile bar who has tip certification, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Will be minors present?
There will be, yes.
And how do you propose to monitor serving?
I mean, everybody there will have their parent present. We do have, it's a truck where the drinks will be served from with the tip certified professional, the only one, accessing the liquor, so they'll be checking on that.
Gardner?
What area of the park?
The pavilion.
Pavilion,
Yeah.
okay. So the reason I ask is that fairly segregated, so you don't have to worry about people who
Yes.
aren't part of your event purchasing. Thank you.
Correct, yep.
And you've already told us it's tip certified, so thank you, I'm all set.
Maureen?
I'm all set, thank you.
What's the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the application for the one-day wine and malt beverage as presented.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good, thank you, good luck.
Thank you.
Number 8, a public hearing will be held under Chapter 138 of the General Laws on the application of TGI Fridays, Inc., DBA TGI Fridays, 49 Newbury Street. Stephen Carter, manager, for a change of manager of an all-alcoholic license at that location. Welcome, please introduce yourself to the folks at home.
Good evening. My name is Albert DiNapoli. I'm the attorney for TGI Fridays. With me is Stephen Carter,
Welcome.
the applicant for the manager of record. Mr.
Is the
Carter,
clerk or the paperwork in order?
It is.
You got a check? You got a check
I
too?
got a
Okay, go ahead, please tell us what you want to do.
and we also supply the alternate managing listing sheet. And Mr. Carter has been with TGI Fridays off and on for a total of 16 years, worked in other restaurants as a general manager, has been appointed as manager of record, I think, in Danvers much earlier, and in other restaurants in the North Shore. So he comes with a lot of experience. He's been feverishly reading the Danvers liquor regulations while we're sitting there. So I think
Oh, we
he's
can
ready
quiz
to be
him.
quizzed, but I think he comes with a lot of experience, so we're excited to have him at the store here.
Thank you. Questions, Maureen?
I'm all set.
Gardner?
Now, my normal questions are how many hours? You say 60, that's a lot, especially driving from the Han. I see that you serve safe. Your experience speaks for itself. And you've already preempted my discussion about the alternates on the license. So that the presumption being that anytime you're open, there's someone whose name is on that certificate in the restaurant.
That is correct.
Thank you. Those are my questions.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. Any questions from the public? Hearing none.
I move we close public hearing.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Thank you. What's the will of the board?
I move we accept the application as presented.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's it. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck. Public hearing will be held on the application of Pub 49, 49 Maple Street, Melissa Byrne, manager, to modify the current entertainment license to add 3 coin-operated amusement devices. Madam Clerk, how are they modifying, or what does it currently call for?
They currently have a 7-day entertainment license as well as a jukebox. So to that entertainment license, they'd like to add 3 coin-operated amusement devices.
To make total of 4?
Well, the jukebox is separate.
It's,
so
but it's still a coin-operated?
It is. the
Coda.
Jukebox is separate. I think the fee is a little bit different.
Okay, all right, thank you. Melissa, welcome.
Hi.
Please explain what she just said.
Yes, exactly. We like to get 3 coin-operated arcades. It would be a big buck, a shooting game, a golden tee, which is golf, and a multi-cave, which would be Pac-Man, Frogger, Donkey Kong. They would be in place of a couple of the tables in a corner that nobody really sits at.
So you were moving a couple of tables to
Yeah,
put
it's
those in?
kind of like a dead area that nobody likes to sit at.
Okay. Gardner, any questions?
No, I'm familiar with the location and where they're proposing to put it. I have no questions.
Okay, Maureen?
What made you think of doing this?
Well, we've had them before in the past at our other place, and it was kind of like an area that nobody really sits at, and just to get more revenue for the summer.
I think Donkey Kong.
It's like,
Right,
the
yeah.
old games.
I like those, yeah. And the golf will be good. Well, no, I'm fine.
All right, thank you. Public hearing, any questions in the public? Hearing none,
I move we close public hearing.
Second,
all in favor?
aye.
Aye, thank you. Good luck, Melissa.
Thank you.
Oh, the
Good night.
motion. Yep, sorry.
I move we accept the application as presented.
No, second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we're gonna make it official. Good luck. A public hearing will be held for properties requiring permanent and temporary easement takings. 7 and 9 College Pond Road, 6 Greenleaf Drive, and 40 and 44 Summer Street. Mr. King, are you here to speak to that?
Yes, thank you. Good evening,
Welcome.
members of the Select Board. My name is Stephen King. I'm the Town Engineer for the Department of Public Works for Town of Danvers. Tonight, we're here for a public hearing for an eminent domain taking and awarding of damages for permanent and temporary sewer easements taken on the properties of 7 College Pond Drive, 9 College Pond Drive, 40 Summer Street, 44 Summer Street, 6 Greenleaf Drive. Total award of the damages is $182,465 between the 5 properties. Just to give a little bit of background on the project, we have a sewer permanent and temporary sewer easements are for a new sewer main that will be eliminating the existing Greenleaf Drive ejector station, pump station, that was constructed in 1970. This pump station has exceeded its useful life. It's beyond 50 years in service. At this point, it's no longer viable as an alternative to replace. They do not make these components anymore. So in the process, over my past predecessor, Rick Rogers, and myself, over the past couple of years, we looked at developing a few alternatives to replace this existing pump station or eliminate it. We looked at 3 different alternatives. One, obviously, was to do a new sewer main easement sewer that would connect Greenleaf Drive to College Pond Road due to a new SESD interceptor that was installed in the late 1980s, early 1990s. The second option was to go out the route via Summer Street and connect back down College Pond Drive as well. Third option was to do a full replacement. Fourth option would obviously to do no replacement at all and just do interior design, do some interior repair and maintenance. Again, because of the components involved in this pump station, we were no longer able to buy materials for this pump station, so that fourth option was no longer valid. Based on design costs, we were working with our consultants. We thought that the optimum route was to use a gravity sewer main that transversed an easement, or we call it cross-country, to go from Greenleaf Drive to College Pond Road. Based on that, we came up with several scenarios of where we could actually put the sewer main across the 5 properties that were discussed in the description of the public hearing. Based on those alternative routes, we picked one that was beneficial, both as like encompassing all the properties that were on or would have been affected by the sewer main installation. Once we had that route described and picked, we then went through a process of doing an appraisal for the properties that would be affected by the sewer main easement, and also went into our permitting aspect as well. We're going to be relocating some wetlands and doing some disturbance of wetlands. We're going to relocate them actually to the Ivan G. Smith School as a future learning project for the kids over in that school as well. At this point, we've finished our appraisal of the properties based on fair market value from our professional consultant that did the work. We've also did our conservation hearing. We got approval from the Conservation Commission to move forward with the project. We received TON authorization for the funding for construction and design and the payment of awards and damages to the properties in our 2020 annual town meeting. And just as recently in our 2023 annual town meeting, the town approved the select board to authorize the taking of the properties for the sewer main easements. And based on that, I'll take any questions if you have any.
Gardner, any questions?
Yeah, can you explain the difference between temporary easement and permanent easement?
Sure. A permanent easement will be permanent in perpetuity for the property. A temporary easement lasts 3 years and then dissolves.
So as I look at the diagrams you provided, you know, and I'm assuming the fact that there's jogs in it, instead of straight shot, that those are related to perhaps wetlands. Which of these are temporary? I mean, if you're building into the 5 properties, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you wouldn't allow someone to build on top of that. It's either a permanent easement. How can it be temporary if you're actually claiming part of the land?
So if you're looking at, you should have 2
I'm
diagrams.
looking at the black and white
All right,
diagram.
in Figure A,
Yep.
it's marked as either with a P or a T.
Okay, yeah, and I see that there's Ts, but the temporary easement under map 26 lot 3, the lowest one closest to the legend, it's still going under that person's property.
Yes, that's for access for the
Oh,
contractor.
for access, it's
Access
not a
only.
physical structure going under there.
No.
Okay, that's the answer.
The
So there's
physical
no actual pipe under that home, under that land. They could build, you know, within reason, something over that when the 3-year easement is over.
Absolutely, yep.
Okay.
The permanent easement is a 20-foot easement. Sorry, should have described that. Thank you for the question. The permanent easement will be a 20-foot permanent easement, and there's 10 feet temporary easements on either side of the 20, which will dissolve after 3 years.
Okay, thank you. Now I better understand. So, in effect, physically, you'll only be affecting underground, something physical, tangible, will only be affecting 3 properties. The map 28 lot 3 and map 28 lot 6 eventually will go away. There won't be any physical piping under their home, under their
There's a
land.
small section of permanent easement
Oh, I
between
see.
6
Yep,
Greenleaf
yep,
and
right
the
on
town of
the
Danvers
line.
property.
Yep, right on the line, I
Yep.
get it. Okay. No, thank you for the,
And also to describe for the sewer main easement, this is something that's going to be completely buried underneath the ground. Once it's completed and done, part of our contract, we go back and restore the properties, full lumen seed, full sod, full pavement, whatever we disturb and put back in better or same condition or even better,
except for one tree.
except for the trees. The trees cannot be replanted back in the
Over the
permanent
line,
easement,
yeah.
over the line,
Yep, over the sewer line.
sewer line, correct.
Thank you, those are my questions.
All set. Maureen?
So, this might be a silly question, but when College Pond development was done, why wasn't this, talked about back then, before the development came in with the developers? It's hard to say, but, because of the Greenleaf pump station, there's no other way of us fixing that, so we don't disturb the neighbors.
They don't make that pump station. It's an ejector station, so it's compressed air pots. They don't make that station anymore. It's submersible wet well stations or dry pit pump stations. So in order to fix that, it'd be a full replacement, excavation, trenching in that same area in order to replace that pump station.
And what's this big, what parcel is this biggest lot? What number's that?
I believe that's a care-assisted facility.
Okay. So behind that,
It's behind that, correct?
and the neighbors, are they here to talk about?
I believe we do have
Okay.
neighbors.
So I'd like to hear from them.
I'll call on them when I'm
Right,
ready.
okay.
Are you
I just
done?
want to hear what comments.
Yeah, it's your turn.
Okay. I just want to listen and know more about this.
Very good. This is a public hearing. Anyone in the public wish to make comment? Sir, go ahead to the microphone, please.
Good, how you doing?
I'm one of the property owners.
At the microphone, please, so the folks at home can see you and hear you.
Thank you, everybody. My name's Charlie Hannigan. I'm one of the property owners at 40 Summer Street. The reason I rose my hand is because we don't have a copy of the document that everybody's referring to. And I'd like to know if one of those is available so we can at least look at it while we're in the meeting.
Got a copy?
See, I have a few.
Maureen and Jim would like to have a copy, too.
Does anyone else need one?
Steve's been very good with helping us, keeping us informed about what the plans are, and both Jim, Maureen, Gail, and myself have been, very cooperative, and we're all in for the project itself. And, but there's a lot of details that need to be worked out that we haven't had a chance to talk about. And I'm interested in hearing a little bit more about the timeline, when it's going to start, the compensatory that's going to be due for the eminent domain, and how that was determined for each of the parties concerned. And I guess that's some of my questions about maintenance on the property afterwards, because we're no longer going to own the property. The city's going to own it. So how often will it be repaved? Who's going to maintain the road during the snowstorms? Who's going to maintain the road itself, after the fact? And although Steve's been very good about it, there's just some of the smaller details that we need to work out before any of this starts or anything's, signed off finally.
Those are all good questions, and I'm sure Steve has answers to some of them, but until he has the final approval to move forward, he really can't give you a start date or an end date. But what questions can you answer, Steve?
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. In general, I can give you a timeline on the range. Based on the conservation order of conditions and discussions we had at those hearings, we determined that the best start date that we're trying to hit is after Labor Day of this year. So September of 2023 is when we like to start construction of the project. We fully entail this project to take at least a year based on the disturbance of being able to repave the driveway that would be affected, driveways that would be affected, and also be able to have 2 planting seasons to replace any of the sod or loam that's disturbed during the construction process. As far as compensation, we did hire a consultant. My office went out, got 3 quotes from appraisals. We picked the quote to go with Simcox Appraisals. They went out and did an evaluation of each of the properties in 2021 based on their findings and comparisons on comparables to similar sized properties, residential houses in that area in the town of Danvers. Based on what costs are for trees, they came up with an evaluation for each of the properties based on what we're going to disturb during the process and what the permanent easement's going to be.
And his questions about maintenance?
The maintenance. So the maintenance for easement clearings, permanent easement clearings, if it's within a town property, we usually do take care of that maintenance. But once the permanent easement is there, the property owners still own the property. So if there's a driveway that we disturb, we'll 100% replace that driveway. Best condition, we'll work with each of the homeowners. But once that project is complete, the driveway would be like it's a normal driveway. They would still access it. They would still plow it. We would then obviously, if we had to, we have a permanent easement on the easement. If there was something that we had to clean out as far as our sewer mains, we would use that easement to get in and do that cleaning and maintenance.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public with questions? Please go to the microphone, introduce yourself.
I'm Jim Larrabee. My wife
Welcome.
Maureen and I live at 7 College Pond Drive, and it appears that the easement that they're putting in through here is almost touching my house. And it appears since the last time that Stephen and I talked about this, that it's been moved closer to my house than it was before, and maybe that has something to do with the Conservation Commission. Has it been moved since the drawings you sent to me?
So if I could just explain, we have a GIS drawing and an actual survey plan. The GIS drawing, just showing like this one, is encompassing both the full and permanent, the temporary and permanent easements. So the easement is still pretty much the same, but this is just depictional, it's not exact. The survey drawing, which shows the exact locations, bearings, and distances of the permanent and temporary easements, is still the same as what we currently discussed. So roughly, if you measured off the side of Mr. Larrabee's house, so the permanent easement's about 29.5 feet distance away from the corner edge of his house.
And it's also, it seems to me that where the property runs down next to our neighbors in back of us, coming down all the way from College Pond Drive, that it was making a about a 45-degree turn to the right on Charlie's property, and now it looks like that turn is a ways into our property. And if you look at the drawing, you can see the house that's our house that's on College Pond Drive. You can see how much of our property they're taking up to put in this easement. The other thing is that what they've been talking about is compensation for this. I've asked how they determine compensation, and I was told he didn't have to tell me that it wasn't part of the public record, and that the amount that they would offer me, that would be it, and otherwise I would have to challenge it in court. So I have no idea how they come up with this, other than he says some experts have planned it. The other thing is that the numbers that he discussed, I don't know about the numbers tonight, but the numbers that were discussed at the finance meeting, somebody at the finance meeting asked him, when did these numbers come about? And these numbers are almost 2 years old. Somebody was asked there, were they going to do a new appraisal and increase the amounts? And nobody answered that question. So if this was your properties or his property, I'm sure you wouldn't want to be paid what it was worth 2 years ago or 5 years ago. And as far as the project at all, we built a house there 32 years ago. I bought the property. We've been paying taxes on it for 30 years. 3 or 4 years after we moved in, somebody was in the woods in back of the house, and they were putting out flags to mark the wetlands area. And I went out to ask him what he was doing, and he explained it to me. And he said that the pumps were, you couldn't get parts for the pumps anymore. Nobody used these kinds of systems. The only way to go about it was to put a gravity system all the way from Greenleaf Drive down here. About 10 years ago, somebody did the same thing, and I heard the same story. You know, we can't get parts anymore and everything else. It's been 30 years, okay? Go buy a new pump, or spend a few more dollars than what's approved and run the thing out to Summer Street from where it's presently located. Not through my property, you know. Steve and I had quite a few conversations. They were always very polite. He was always very helpful about this. But this looks much different than the drawings that I was shown before. And it doesn't seem like this is a transparent operation, you know? Where do these numbers come from? Right now, they're selling house lots up on North Street in Danvers to build houses for $500,000. You know, I'm sure that house lots were less expensive 2 years ago. Houses were 2 years less expensive. I know my taxes have gone up each of the last couple of years, and the appraisal on my property has gone up each of the last couple of years. I don't know why somebody would suggest that numbers that are 2 years old are acceptable to use as far as judging what you're going to pay me for our property. So that's what I had to say.
Thank you. Stephen, any comments to the gentleman's comments?
Yes, in regards to the easement plan that was discussed, it's still the same easement plan that I sat down with them over a couple times. Bill Airviews and myself made various changes prior to this final plan to make sure we try to get as much as that easement, permanent easement, off their property as best we could, and still be able to tie in on College Pond Drive. Some of the easement plans, some of the plans that we were looking at were actually the civil engineer design drawings, so you could really get a good depiction of like where everything is located versus just seeing the lines and the house lots shown on the survey plan. So that's why it may look a little different based on your bearings of what you're seeing on a survey plan versus an easement drawing. But the easement drawing is going to be the one drawing that's recorded with the Registry of Deeds.
And can you respond to the methodology in determining the values?
Yeah, well, I'm not the professional in appraisal evaluations. And that's why we hired another party to do that.
So you went outside and hired a professional
Correct.
appraiser. I don't want to put words in your mouth. You hired a professional appraiser who did his evaluation and came back with these values.
Correct, yep. He was hired in November 21. I think we got the results just about January 2022, February 2022. So roughly looking at about a year and a half since the final evaluations were made. Over that time, we obviously had to go through a couple of meetings with conservation. We did a walkthrough last winter with all the neighbors based on what the easement drawings were gonna show, kind of showed everybody what trees were gonna have to come down, the general path of the sewer main easement, the general location of where the sewer manholes are gonna be, the timelines of when the construction was gonna take place, the restoration process, the premise to start to finish of when we're gonna complete the project.
Good, thank you. Anyone else in the public? Yes, ma'am?
Can I say something, Dan, too?
Yes.
When you said appraisals were done in 2021, I mean, this is 2023. I mean,
June 2023, yep.
yeah, so I would think.
Well, he said he got the results back last year.
In January.
January 2023.
Right. And the appraiser works on information that's always a year old, so this is
Oh.
not unusual.
Oh, last 6 months.
All right, ma'am, you had some comments?
Hi, my name's Maureen Larrabee. I live at 7 College Pond Drive. I just want to say also,
We
on
might
an
have
appraisal
medical issue.
standpoint,
Yep.
we need clarification.
Hold on. Gail, all right?
Do you need some water?
Okay, thank you. Continue.
You dehydrated? Just take your time, Gail.
It's okay, nope,
All right.
don't be, you can continue, please.
Are we okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just want to add what my husband has added and what Charlie has added as well. When we started talking to Stephen King about this, I don't know the exact time frame, but we were outside on my porch in masks because of COVID. So whatever kind of appraisal we're talking about needs to be more current than going on 2 years ago. This is not a small thing. This is going to come down the side of our property. We're going to lose 3 trees. Yes, they're going to be replaced. We're going to lose our side lawn. Yes, they will fix it. We're going to lose our irrigation system. Yes, they will fix it. There are a bunch of trees across the back of our property that were designated below what they call the rim of the wetlands. We've been good stewards of that property. We've asked, could we take those trees down? The answer was no, because they abutted the wetlands. They were below the rim. Now they're all going. So, you know, I need clarification. We've lived in this home a long time. We've worked hard to maintain it. This is going to be a big disruption to our lives, and I think before this moves forward that we need, all of us, all of the neighbors, we need to know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and what the compensation is and how that number is arrived at. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public? Yeah, go ahead, Gail.
Gail Eaton, 40 Summer Street. Just to speak to the drawing and everything, and, you know, it's not, to me, it's not about the compensation, it's just what's gonna happen, the timeline, the time frame, as far as, you know, they're ripping up our driveway. It's close to a 1/10 of a mile. So every morning, I'm gonna have to drive my car out to Innis Drive for, I don't know how long that's gonna be every day, bringing groceries in. I think I'm worried about a little bit with emergency vehicles. If there was a fire at my house, fire truck's gonna, how are they gonna get down and in there, an emergency, almost had an emergency right now. I mean, there's a lot to go, you know, to happen with this. And Stephen, if it's supposed to start in September, then, you know, when is this gonna get ripped up? How long is it gonna be ripped up? It's supposed to be covered at night, but that means every day, how am I gonna get into my house? How am I gonna get out? You know, it's a distance. Most of the neighbors know, it's not a regular driveway. You know, Leonard Nolan, if you know, remember him, Dan, I'm taking him down to my house and he goes, what's the name of this street? I go, Mr. Nolan, it's my driveway. You know, and it's just, I don't wanna say scary, but it's worrisome. You know, and this goes all the way down, you know, every night this things are covered, but, yeah, oil trucks, and then, you know, you've got all these vehicles coming down part of our driveway that may or may not be, I mean, are we gonna be responsible for paving the driveway that's getting ripped up, coming down to, you know, coming down from Upper Summer Street? There's a section of our driveway, just, you know, wear and tear, coming in and out, is that gonna be replaced? And then when we go from the end of where this is happening up to our driveway, now everything's mismatched. Plowing, we're responsible. What if we have a snowstorm in October, which we've had, Halloween? How is it gonna get paved and plowed and getting back in and out of there? There's just so many question marks about what's gonna happen. You know, it's just, I don't think we have a lot of answers for everything. You know, what ifs, but, you know, one what if could be a disaster.
Thank you. Stephen, any further comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just to speak about the concerns just brought up, I do pride myself on communication. We specifically put a lot of language into our special provisions of our contract to definitely coordinate access points for any of the neighbors to get into their driveways. Each night, the trench or excavation is supposed to be backfilled, complete, and leveled, so they can get in and out of their driveways. I'm going to be there on site. I would definitely coordinate with the neighbors and abutters and discuss on a day-to-day basis, are you coming out, are you leaving, when you need to leave? And I discuss that with the contractor, and the contractor would make sure that the homeowners can get in and out and access to their driveways. I certainly wouldn't want to make anybody walk the distance of this driveway, which is significant, just to get into their homes on a day-to-day basis. We are not allowed to use the entrance from Summer Street. That's private property. We will not be accessing that whatsoever. The reason for the permanent easements and temporary easements is to do full access through those locations, not private property. So we will not be using the driveway that connects to Summer Street to come in with our trucks or anything. That's solely for your purpose only. During construction, if there is a snow event, we would be responsible for clearing out the driveway to make sure that there's access in and out for, one, the homeowners and emergency vehicles. And then two, on emergency vehicles, we would make sure that we have access in and out for emergency vehicles to get to any of the homes during construction. We do that on every street that we work on, every public way.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I appreciate your concerns, the unknowns, and certainly the questions you need answered that I'm sure Stephen and his staff will help work with you going forwards. This is a normal process and procedure for these land takings. It's nothing unusual, unfortunately. It's unusual because it's affecting your neighborhood. And my experience with both the engineering department and DPW, when work is being done on a particular street, they are receptive, they are responsive. On Page Street, the gas company ripped the whole thing up, and I'm right in the middle of Page Street, and get in and out was very difficult. But the Public Works Department were there to facilitate anything we needed during that short time frame. Not going to be, yours is not going to be short, but the town will be there to help you, assist you. They'll just try to, if there's snow, they'll take care of the plowing of your driveway. Price-wise, I can't speak to that. Will tell you, you have every right to get your own appraisal, whether it's current or not, and you have every right to question the amount of money that the town is offering you. Don't feel that once they give you $5, that's the end of it. You can get your own appraisal. The time frame, if we don't act on this tonight, we don't meet till August 15th, and if we go that long, he's not going to be able to start at Labor Day. And it's just going to push it off and prolong your agony. So I really think Steve has done his best to work with you and explain the situation, but this is for the public good. And that's why we do these eminent domains. Anyone else in the public with questions? Please.
You know, as far as the public good is, there are other ways of resolving this. If we were in a
I can't,
situation-
I'm not an engineer. The engineer department has come to us with a plan that they've thought through, they've looked at other plans. This is the one that town meetings approved, and I can't tell Steve, come up with a better plan, because he's already come up with the best plan.
The people, I assume that you folks have a relationship with the management of the town, and that therefore you can express to those people your interests in seeing that the process is as painless as possible.
Well, those would be our instruction to the town manager and his employees. The board does not tell the employees what to do, but the manager. And the manager will hear from us about our concerns with this project, and the manager will let Mr. King know and DPW know. And I have all faith that they'll do the best they can do. Go ahead.
Yeah, two things. One is, we're presented with this option, obviously, but I'm certain, based on historical projects and work that's happened with the engineering department, that they went through many iterations and looked at many, many options and determined that this was the most appropriate option, given the constraints of wetlands, given the constraints of other private property and access points and so on and so forth. So I'm very comfortable that they've done their best due diligence to get the best, least impactful solution. The question I'd have for Steve is the independent assessment. Was that based on assessment of comparables at the time and not on the assessments that the town had, which are by nature a couple of years old?
It was based on assessments at the time, so
Okay.
I want to say, in comparison, the Beaverbrook subdivision was at that point selling lots.
Okay, so it was based on comps at the time,
correct.
not on the town's assessed value, which is based on,
No, it was based on
okay,
the time, on the sales at that time,
very good.
not based on town evaluations.
Okay, that's important because, as we all know, town evaluations are historically lagging by nature. Okay, thank you.
Anyone
Those are my
else in the
questions.
public? Yes.
Charlie Hannigan at 40 Summer Street. I think there's still a few, we're not trying to stop the project. I mean, we've already agreed with Steve on 40 Summer Street, we're willing to, move forward with the project itself. I still think if Jim and Maureen at College Pond have some questions, Doug may have some questions over there. And there's just some small detailed questions we'd like to have answered prior to the start of anything.
Stephen, can you comment? Can they get their questions answered before you start?
We could do something within the next 2 weeks. I'm willing to offer out my house for a place for us to just get together anytime within the next 2 weeks or so, or a time that's convenient for Steve, just to come over and maybe answer the few questions that we all have before the project starts.
Probably best to answer them on site. Makes more sense to me. I think, Stephen, that's something you can help accommodate them with?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been more than willing to meet anytime with the neighbors and the abutters of the easements. I
And if
think
they don't meet with you, you let us know.
Yeah, Steve can pick the time of the day, and, I'll run it by Maureen and Doug, and, if it's agreeable to them, then, you can meet at my house at 40 Summer Street and just hash out the final details.
Good.
And-
Okay, that's fine.
Just to add to that also, I foresee probably a couple meetings happening before we even put a bucket in the ground. If we were to go out and advertise and bid the project and then secure the services of a contractor, I think at that point is also another good time to meet with the homeowners.
And have the contractor meet with the homeowners as well, I think
Correct.
would be a
Yep.
good idea. All right, Doug? Please, to the microphone.
Mr. Chairman, while he's going to the mic, I'm wondering if when it goes out to RFP, if you might share those documents, it'll have further details with the neighbors. Great.
Doug DeRocha, 6 Greenleaf. I'm just kind of wondering why the appraiser and his appraisal that we all know is at least a year and a half plus old, why can't it be revised? Just put a call and see if they could just review it and adjust it to today. It's not going to start for a couple of months, and they already have all the information regarding the property. So it would, I think it'd be fair for the neighbors to give them some comfort that at least, you know, they have an evaluation that's closer.
Makes sense, but Stephen, is that be a normal procedure to follow through with? Or would that be proper?
Mr. Chair, I would definitely refer to our town council as far as the orders of how it should go, but I believe there is some language in Mass General Law, Chapter 79, that would allow us to make amends. But I would refer that to town council.
Okay, good, please do, thank you. Okay. Can we have a motion on the public hearing?
I move we close public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Before we vote, I need to disclose that I'm a member of the Historic Society with Gail Eaton, member of Kiwanis with Doug DeRocha. Disclosed, okay. Have a
And
motion?
I'll also disclose that I'm a member of the Rotary, and
Rotary.
I'm sorry, I know all of the participants personally, so.
And I, too, will disclose that I'm a Kiwanis member, too.
Okay,
Kiwanis, yeah.
all right. May I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Danvers Select Board approve order eminent domain taking of temporary and permanent utility easements on property located on the town of Danvers at 40 Summer Street, 44 Summer Street, 9 College Pond Drive, 7 College Pond Drive, 6 Greenleaf Drive, and Town of Danvers, for the amounts of consideration shown payable to the respective owners of each parcel shown on Exhibit A to the order of taking, as well all as authorized by Article 24 of the May 15th, 2023 annual town meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Good luck, folks. My sympathies to you, and not easy.
Thank you.
Stephen, we'll take good care of you.
Thanks for the water. Yeah.
More than welcome.
So just a question, we have it here, and we needed it here? Okay, I get it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. The board will conclude deliberations regarding a vacancy on the Beverly Airport Commission. For the record, we had 5 applicants. We heard the 5 applicants over a series of 2 meetings. And is the board ready to make a decision on one of the applicants?
Mr. Chairman, do you want me to make a motion and then have a discussion, or just have a?
Well, are we ready to discuss any of the candidates?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, so go ahead.
I went back and looked at all the applicants, and I gravitate first to someone who has aviation experience. It's good to have knowledge of aviation and be a practitioner if possible. When I looked at that, some stuck out at me, Bill Castellan, Wayne McGuire, and Dr. Mioli. And I think that after looking at all of them and the experience that they brought to the board, and there was another gentleman with aviation experience that I'm not going to move forward. But I look here, and I've known Bill Castellan to be a volunteer at the airport for quite a while, participant at the airport. And I would like to make a motion to forward the nomination of William Castellan to Beverly for consideration.
Thank you. Maureen, do you have any
Can I
comment?
Can I have those papers? I left them in the car. Thank you.
I'm sorry,
I remember
those are my
reviewing it. I
markings.
just want to
He-
make sure I get the right one. Thank you.
Yep. He showed up on the second
Yep,
iteration?
yep.
That one is was the first week, that gentleman showed up the first time?
Yep.
And that one, Dr.
I
Okay.
liked Dr. Milioni. I'd recommend him.
So I've made a motion.
I liked his revenue, how he was going to try to raise revenue.
So we have two names that have been offered with no seconds. So you can make a motion, Gardner, if you wish.
And I did make a motion for Bill Coswan.
Okay, so there's a motion for Bill Coswan. All in favor?
Do we have a second?
No, you're not, I already commented, there's no second.
Oh, there's no necessity for second.
There's no second, so we'll,
Okay. Yeah,
on your
aye,
motion.
Aye.
All opposed? No.
No,
Is there a second motion?
I'll make a motion for Dr. Milioni.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
You'll second it? Okay, that's been seconded. Discussion?
So,
It's very difficult with five.
It is,
And
but
we're not going to
the
necessarily agree with everybody.
no, we're not, and I get that. Some of them, we all, we obviously, I had it 1 and 3.
Yep.
So I'm fine there. I'm wondering if a full board doesn't make a more, where we're not getting seconds and we're not getting,
Right, and unfortunately, well, only three of us tonight. I
Right.
mean, and I can't, Aaron's not here. Do we need to have somebody
No.
recommend this at this time?
no.
That
So
we can table till August
that's where I
15th?
was about to go. That's the direction I was going
That's
to.
fine.
Because what's going to happen is, as I explained to the board last time, our recommendation, whoever we decide, will go to the city of Beverly. They will then hear it at the city council meeting, the recommendation. They will refer it to a subcommittee.
So maybe by Christmas, we'll have somebody.
Right.
But
I don't think
are you
2
making-
months is going to.
No.
I
Are you making
move
a,
we table, but I've already seconded Maureen's motion, so we should probably,
no, I would say if Maureen doesn't mind withdrawing a motion so we can table it for the next
I
meeting?
think it'd be nice to have all board members,
Yeah, okay.
so it's
Okay.
fair.
So we're agreed, we'll table it. It's
Yep.
withdrawn, she's
Yeah,
withdrawing.
I'll withdraw it for
And
now-
we're
for now.
tabling it till August 15th.
thank you.
Who, Goddard made the motion to table?
Yes.
Who seconded that?
There's no motion needed to
No.
table, we're in,
Okay.
it's tabled. Okay, thanks, Gardner. Maureen? That's about how I thought it would play out, with good candidates all around. Okay. The board will consider a proclamation recognizing the 100th anniversary of Rotary International. Maureen, do you have that proclamation?
Yeah, I think I can read it.
Would you read
I think I can
it for
see
me?
it today. Thank you. Let's see, Rotary 100th Anniversary Recognition Day in the town of Danvers. Whereas, the first club was formed in Chicago with 4 businessmen who chose the name Rotary because initially they rotated subsequent weekly club meetings to each other's offices. And whereas Rotary International is now one of the largest organizations in the world dedicated to causes that build international relationships, is made up of 46,000 member clubs worldwide with a membership of 1.4 million individuals, of whom 22% are women. And whereas Rotary's stated mission is to provide service to others, promote integrity, and advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace. And whereas Rotary Club of Danvers is always ready to welcome people who are committed to do good in the community and beyond. And whereas Rotary Club of Danvers embodies all of these ideals and has been generous over the years to the town and to its residents. Therefore, we, the Select Board, do hereby proclaim that this day, June 27th, 2023, is in recognition of Rotary Club's 100th anniversary in the town of Danvers.
Thank you, and I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you very much. And the Assistant Town Manager will report to the board on various items of interest, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll stick with the Rotary 100th anniversary topic. We just want to remind everybody that the Downtown Rewind is happening June 27th, which is a week from today. That is presented by Falcon Fest and Rotary to mark their 100th birthday. The town will have representation there. Strategic Danvers will be there along with a few of our departments. Rain date for that is June 29th of next week. The event is from 5 to 8. They will start blocking some of the streets earlier in the day, approximately 3 p.m. Down there in the square. The one other update we have, yesterday we had our 3rd annual Juneteenth celebration outside of Town Hall. We were joined by the North Shore Juneteenth Association for that event. We had a good number of attendants. The representatives spoke and offered some comments. We want to thank the Human Rights and Inclusion Committee and Jasmine Ramon, our Director of Equity and Inclusion, for their work on that event. And that is the updates I have for you tonight.
Thank you very much. Okay. The board will consider the consent calendar, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Correspondence, new business, previous business updates. Maureen?
No, I'm really all set, Dan, thank you.
Thank you. Gardner?
No, the only correspondence I got, I know happened to go to all of us, so regarding trash.
They bring it up because I have a few comments.
Okay, well, we got correspondence from a citizen asking questions about the size of the barrels, the current size of the barrels, and allowed trash per day, per week. And they had some viable questions. I actually asked the assistant town manager today, and some plans are being formed to promote the change, the switch over, the timeline, and pretty much try to get answers to frequently asked questions out ahead of time, so people know what's going to be on, when they'll be delivered, which we understand is now probably in the August timeframe, and the normal questions that have come up. And I would suggest that anybody who has questions, if they want answered, but may also be something for frequently asked questions response, they should forward it to the assistant town manager. Is that all right to you? Or to David Lane?
Sure, they certainly can come through our office. There will also be published later this week or early next week a page on the DPW part of the website dedicated to this that will have an FAQ section. There's some questions we already have loaded in there, and then over time, as we get more questions, we will update that frequently.
And I'm sure once you release the information, you'll get more questions.
I would assume so.
I would assume so. So, and to the citizen that reached out, DPW was going to respond to them personally, so to take care of that piece of it. So stay tuned for the changes in trash. Actually, I have no other correspondence. Just to say, if you see a vet, please thank the vet, and this meeting is adjourned. Good night, Danvers.
And happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July, you're right. Year before you know it. I'll take that proclamation, please.